Welcome to Future Construct. I'm Mark Oden, the CEO of BIM Designs Inc. and guest host of Future Construct. Today, I'm hosting Sara Hedge, BIM VDC Coordinator at CDI Contractors. Welcome, Sara. Thank you for making the time to join me.
Hey, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So, as we get started, I want to provide our audience with some of your background. As a native of Arkansas, known by many as the natural state for its natural scenic beauty, clear lakes, streams, and abundant wildlife, you graduated from the University of Arkansas with a Bachelor in Science in Architecture Studies. During your decade of BIM VDC experience, you've completed over $1.5 billion in design and construction projects. Upon joining CDI in May of 2021, you received your Certification of Management BIM accreditation, one of only 11 in the state, and most recently acquired your Certification of Management Lean accreditation. On a typical day, you can be found leading a wide range of efforts from technology testing to hands-on job site training to subcontractor trade coordination. You're also an active member of the National Association of Women in Construction and committee member of the Women's Leadership Initiative of NWA. With so much experience, Sara, you've had a profound and positive impact on the digital construction market and continue to do so. Thank you for all of your many contributions in the AEC space.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
So to begin, I'd love to dive into more of your story. Can you share with our audience your journey from graduating with a BS in Architecture Studies at the University of Arkansas to becoming the BIM VDC coordinator at CDI Contractors?
Absolutely. When I graduated, I was working with a furniture company doing interior design, just trying to get as much work experience as I can, anything related to my architecture background. After a couple of years doing that, I was lucky enough to land just a beginner drafter role doing ammonia refrigeration of all things for a food processing company, and spent about 7 years there just doing drafting and eventually working my way up to be their technical discipline drafting leader. So I was managing several different groups within that processing company. After that, I felt like I had had a good sense of time with the design side of things. I wanted to see what else was out there. And so construction just felt like a really good next step for me. It was the side that I didn't get as much of whenever I was with my previous role. And as much as it helped me having the design background, I came into the construction world really not knowing much of what was going on. And CDI has really taken me under their wing and grown me these last 3 years. So that's how I ended up where I'm at today.
That's beautiful. And what inspired your pursuit into the architecture sciences career, architecture studies?
Yeah, as cliche as it sounds, I was a kid that got like markers and crayons for Christmas. I've always loved to draw. I've always loved making things. And I've always thought it was really important to have beautiful spaces. And so that really drew me into architecture. And that's what made me choose it.
That's awesome. Thank you so much, Sara. So as an active member of the National Association of Women in Construction, or the NAWIC, and also committee member of the Women's Leadership Initiative of NWA, also WLI, how do you see your role in fostering diversity and inclusion within the construction industry? And what initiatives have you been involved in to promote women in construction?
Great question. So I've been a member of NAWIC and WLI for almost my entirety of being at CDI now, so almost 3 years. When I started with CDI, I was one of 3 females in the office, only one of 2 that were actually in the field occasionally. And now CDI today has 8 females on our team, which I just think is amazing. It's so fun, and they've been really persistent about getting me involved in recruiting. So I get to go to career fairs and explain to people that there's a lot more to construction than someone standing out there with a set of drawings or holding a shovel having to fill a trench with gravel. There's a lot more going on in the background, whether it be project management, estimation, BIM VDC. So it's been really fun to play a part in bringing some diversity to the CDI team, and then to explain also to our NAWIC and WLI chapters, again, that construction is more than just hard hats. A lot of people, when I mention BIM VDC, they have no idea what that means. So it's fun to be able to teach them a little bit about what I do and how it can make everyone's jobs a lot easier.
That's great. I'm curious, when you are stepping out into the recruiting sphere, what are your primary observations? What are you seeing as the interests of potential new hires, or even the next generation? How do you find that you can relate to them and speak to them? When when and how do you explain BIM and VDC to them, and when do you see that light bulb click in their mind?
Sure. So one of the things that I always try to do whenever I recruit is bring the VR goggles. It's something that we use as a company, and it's something that this generation that we're recruiting, especially new recruits, really seem drawn to. When they see the goggles or they see the scanner, they see a laptop up with a lot of different lines drawn in different colors. That's something that really resonates with them since they are so technology focused, so technology driven. So a lot of times if I can lure them into the table with that hardware, it's a pretty easy sell to say, this is something that we can teach you to do if you already don't know how to do, or if you are doing it currently, that applies to what we're doing in our everyday world, not just with BIM BDC. A lot of people think that they've got to have a construction management background, and quite frankly, it's just not the truth. We've got architects, mechanical engineers, civil engineers, finance backgrounds with CDI. So it's more about understanding how the pieces fit together, how the team works to get the project built. And really, if you just love a good problem to solve, construction's the place for you.
And so, speaking of aspiring individuals that are pursuing a career in BIM, VDC, and coordination, what advice would you give them based on your own experiences and the evolving landscape of the construction industry?
I think my biggest piece of advice would be just to be a sponge. Don't get too tied to just the design world or just the construction world. Learn about everything that you can. Go on job visits. Go shadow someone that doesn't have the same role as you. Learn from those people and understand what their struggles are, what their hardships are. One of the things that I think most BIM and VDC managers deal with on a daily basis is getting the team in the field to actually use the models, to actually use the coordinated files that we're spending so much time on. And so spending that time, making that effort to get to know what the troubles and the struggles actually are makes it much easier to relate what I do to the people who aren't as familiar with the technology.
I love that. Yeah, how have you seen success in helping the field use the model?
I will say I'm very, very lucky that the teams that I work with in our Northwest Arkansas office have truly embraced my role. Our Little Rock branch as well. We've had a VDC, a BIM VDC team in our Little Rock office for well over 10 years at this point. And so CDI is very cognizant, very aware of all of the changes in technology, and they really try to push the limits with how they use that in the field. And like I said, the teams that I get to deal with day in, day out in Northwest Arkansas, they're always willing to let me come in and show them something new, to ask me how to make something work. A lot of them can use the 3D scanner themselves and understand not only how to use it, but what the output is and what they're trying to gain with that information. So I think I've just kind of stepped into a good position where they're as eager to learn as I am to teach. So it's been a really good relationship between myself and the field teams because we're all trying to help each other out and be successful.
And you're saying in terms of teaching and learning, that brought to my mind, what do you employ and what resources do you go to keep top of mind and top of market in terms of what's coming out?
Yeah, so our BIM department meets weekly and we're constantly talking about testing new software, new hardware. I follow a lot of things on LinkedIn that try and keep me up to date, make sure that we're trying the latest and greatest, or at least looking at it to see what benefit it brings to CDI. I'm also lucky enough to attend AU. So we get to go to Autodesk University and see what they've got coming out. But we deal with a lot of different hardware and software, not just Autodesk related. And we keep in close touch with their reps so that we're always at the forefront of technology.
Beautiful. So what are you seeing in the market today? And then the next question will be about what are you most excited about seeing in the future? But what are you seeing about the market today in terms of software and hardware in the BIM VDC space?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say the thing that's really evolved over the last few years and just seems to be getting more and more amazing is the rendering technology. I mean, you can just do so much now with materials, lighting, placement in the models itself, and then tying that into technology that's coming down the line, all of the AI that's out and about in the world right now with things like ChatGPT. I just see that really starting to bleed over into the BIM BDC world. It's crazy how much it's changed even in the last decade that I've been doing this job. The scanning time has decreased from minutes to seconds. You can take 360 photos with the camera on your hard hat. The possibilities are truly endless.
I love that. Well, Sarah, this has been an insightful conversation thus far. We're going to take a short break to hear from our sponsors. When we come back, I'm excited to continue diving into your career accomplishments and responsibilities, after which we'll shift gears to discuss technology, challenges, and collaboration as they relate to the future of the industry. Thank you to our listeners for tuning in so far. We'll be right back.
Welcome to the Future Construct podcast, brought to you by BIM Designs Incorporated, where innovation meets construction. Stay tuned as we delve into the latest trends and technologies shaping the future of the AECO industry. BIM Designs Incorporated, your partner in building the future.
Hello, and thank you for your interest in our firm. I'm Mark Oden, CEO of BIM Designs Inc. Our firm is one of the largest, premier, single-service union signatory with over 25 National United Association and sheet metal workers locals utilizing US-based detailers. For over 6 years, our union members have provided high-quality BIM detailing, deliverables, coordination, schedule, construction management, and project controls consulting services for over 100 projects to construction companies working in large commercial projects in the areas of education, government, hospitality, healthcare, biopharmaceutical, semiconductor, entertainment, as well as mixed-use residential and commercial buildings. We have become subject matter experts in not only the execution of using BIM technologies, but also the management of the BIM process. We have proven to be dependable consulting professionals with strong communication skills, leadership skills, and technically sound backgrounds. We hold ourselves accountable to the highest ethics, where our core values are quality performance, trust and ethics, solutions-driven, innovation, teamwork, community engagement, ownership of commitments, diversity and inclusion. BIM Designs Inc. can help your construction, general contracting, engineering, or architecture firm by providing expert tradesmen who know how to precisely design, model, and manage your systems, as well as dependable consulting professionals who can make strategic and timely decisions. We are BIM professionals, industry experts, strategic thinkers whom align people, processes, technology, and metrics. Contact us at sales@bimdesigns.net for a consultation and to discuss your project needs. We'd love to work with you. Thank you. And we're back with Sara Hedge, the BIM BDC coordinator at CDI Contractors. Before the break, we learned about you as a person and your role at CDI. I'd love to continue exploring your career successes as well as your thoughts on the future of the AEC industry. Does that sound fun, Sarah?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's go.
What you've been able to do over your decade of experience in BIM VDC is very impressive, especially with completing over $1.5 billion in design and construction projects. Could you highlight one project that stands out to you and share the challenges and successes you encountered during this execution?
Sure. I'm actually going to share two, if that's okay. I'm a little bit partial to two of them.
Sure.
The first one I want to mention is the very first project that I modeled entirely in 3D. It was at my previous job for a food processing facility, about a $300 million project. And it was the first ground up facility that this company had chosen to do in well over 50 years. So not only did they decide to do a brand new facility, they decided that they were going to go all in and do it 100% in 3D. Our drafting team at the time had very little to no experience doing 3D drafting, 3D modeling. So it was a huge challenge for our drafting team and for the company as well to really understand what they were fighting off. I mean, anyone who's done 3D modeling knows it's not something you just wake up and decide to do one day and then throw on a very expensive project. So we had a lot of challenges really starting to get things going, building up our libraries, building up our family, and truly building up some buy-in from the end users and from our higher ups. At that time, there just weren't a lot of other people in the industry that were using 3D modeling, and making them understand the benefits that it was going to bring in the long run while we were fighting so many uphill battles initially was very challenging. With that being said, the project did end very successfully. Not only was I able to complete my task, as I believe I was a refrigeration drafter at the time, but because of the quick amount of time that we had to get this project done, I had picked up on a lot of things. And so we were all as a team able to help each other out to finish on time, to finish under budget, which is very important. And so I really hold that project near and dear to my heart because I think it was a good push for the company to say that 3D is here, it's not going anywhere. And I think that project is what made them really embrace the technology. So that's my first favorite. My second favorite is one of the very first projects that I did with my time at CDI. It was an underground utility tunnel that was being laid out first so that we could build a research facility on top of it. This was, like I said, my very first project with CDI, my very first time to really show the team what I could do. So because of that, there was a lot of me getting to use technology that they hadn't seen before, or at least, maybe didn't even know about prior to me being there. We were getting to use scanners. We were getting to push and pull points back and forth between Revit with our field engineers. And the superintendent and I worked very closely together to actually redesign the tunnel itself so that it would lay out the way that it was supposed to based on the as-built conditions. And while it might not have been a very big project monetarily, it was huge and it was very critical in making sure that we got that done so that the rest of the project would be successful because it was going to be done in 3 phases. So it was just really an awesome moment to see that come to fruition, to know that we worked together as a team, like my second week on the job, to make sure that it could get done so that we could carry on and keep going.
Well, I can just see that collaborative spirit in you, Sarah. So I'm glad that others are able to see that as well. I'm curious on the first project where you said, hey, the company had decided, to go all in. It was their first ground up in 50 years. And yet you still faced buy-in challenges. And I imagine you also faced, not having that company not having any prior experience, maybe some process challenges and standard operating procedures challenges. So speak a little bit, if you could, about some of those challenges and what you did to overcome them.
Absolutely. At the time, the team that I was with, they were really hands-on. All of us were, the drafting team was. And so I feel like everyone really put in the extra effort and the extra time to not only learn the software, but write the procedures as we went. I mean, it was very crucial that we all understood none of us were professionals, that we were learning and building on the fly, and we were under a very serious time and budget crunch. Not only that, but it required that everyone in the department get new technology so that we could actually handle the size of the models that we were building. So it was really nice to see the group come together to start to see the buy-in from the executive team. I think for them, what was most eye-opening using that technology was understanding that it's not just about having a cool model to look at the end of the day. It's not about being able to throw it into rendering software or put it in the VR goggles. What was most appealing to them as the owner and as the end user was that they could finally in-depth explore the safety aspect of what they were doing because they were able to utilize those 3D models. And for me, I think that's what really was a tipping point for them that got us that buy-in to keep going.
I love that. Yeah. And with new tech and new processes and to finish under budget, that's a major accomplishment, Sarah. Incredible.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Yeah. It's also noteworthy that you received your certification in management BIM accreditation upon joining CDI in 2021, being one of the 11 to do so in Arkansas, and then more recently adding that and acquiring your certification management lean accreditation furthered your experience. How have these certifications enhanced your role? What did you learn from them, and what motivated you to pursue them?
Yeah, so I think that one of the things I love so much about CDI is not only are they constantly looking at the technology that's coming, but they're very heavily invested in growing the people that they have. They really believed in me when I went to them and said, hey, we need to, I need to take this test. I have this accreditation. Not only does it show that I actually know what I'm doing, but it helps me to stay fresh and to keep a new perspective on different ways that we can do things. There's so many ways to implement BIM and VDC technology. And I think that going through those courses and taking those exams really gave me the confidence that I do know what I'm doing after the song. And it's, I just think it's nice that I've got that in my back pocket. So that way, when people are learning new things that we're doing for the company, they understand that I'm not doing this selfishly. I'm doing it truly to better the project and to better the teams that we have out in the field. As far as the lean accreditation, we have some leadership in the company that really started honing in on different lean methods with this last project that we've been working on. And I felt that it was really important for me as part of the project team to be able to bring that to the table so that I could bring value not only through BIM and VDC, but so that I could understand their processes and think of ways to make them more clean and concise, so that when it was time to train or it was time to knock something out for them from a BIM or VDC standpoint, I was being effective for them and timely for them so that they could stay on schedule as well.
So do you feel these certifications enabled you to bring that knowledge and value back into CDI, and that you're in a position at CDI to be able to influence those processes?
Absolutely. They are very, very persistent about having training so that everyone is cross-trained in some way. We do that monthly throughout the company in Northwest Arkansas, and then we do it once a month as well on different job sites. So they're always looking for someone to step up and say, this is what we should be working towards, or maybe this is what we could be doing better. They're constantly pushing the envelope. And so having those accreditations really gives me that leg to stand on when I say, maybe we should think about doing things this way.
I love that, Sarah. On a typical day for you, it may involve a wide range of activities like technology testing, hands-on job site training, and trade partner coordination. Can you walk us through a day in your life as a BIM VDC coordinator, and how you balance your diverse responsibilities?
Sure. To be quite honest, I don't know that I have a true day in the life. It is so different every day. But typically I like to come in and check out what's on my schedule, just make sure that I've got an understanding of the flow of things. If we're in the middle of a project that's got coordination going on, I'll spend a lot of time actually reviewing the 3D model, making sure that there are no issues, or if there is an issue, I've got note of it to actually bring it up with the group later. And then when we do have that coordination call, it's really important to me that everything starts and ends on time. I want to be really respectful of the fact that other people have different meetings and plans throughout their day. So if we're going to start at 3 o'clock, we're starting right at 3 o'clock, and we're going to end right whenever the meeting says it's going to end. And I think that's some of the lean coming back to me here. But I really want to spend the time to make sure that the people that are going to be using the models in the field are getting the most value for what we're doing. So it's important to me when I have those calls that not only are we including the people that are doing the modeling, but we want the project managers on the call. We want the superintendents on the call. We want the trade foremen on the call. We want all involved parties, the design team, all of the CDI internal team, from field engineer to superintendent. And I've been really supported in that fact. Before I was in this role at Northwest Arkansas, there was no BIM VDC manager, and they were able to rely on our Literock team. So being able to bring that to them, and then not have to wait for things to get done and me be able to give them a quick turnaround is really important, because the faster we can move behind the scenes, the more they can stay on schedule in the field.
Well, I appreciate that so much, and that's really great meeting excellence that perhaps came out of that lean certification. For example, identifying the stakeholders and ending and starting on time, and enforcing those criteria as part of great meeting excellence. Such an important foundation that all of us can learn from. When you're coordinating with trade partners, how do you ensure that effective collaboration and communication among different stakeholders? And what strategies have you found most successful in streamlining coordination efforts?
I would say the earlier the better, always. As soon as you can start coordination, you should do it. Don't wait until the very last minute to decide to get everyone involved. I'm also a really big fan of communicating. I'm the type of person that will send you email after email after email, and then call after call after call. It's really important to me that I follow up on things that are loose ends. And thankfully, I've got amazing teammates that help me do that. I mean, we've got minutes after minutes after minutes that we take after each meeting. So, just being able to go back and keep record of anything that we've done or decided as a group, and then to share that information with whoever was on the call, I think is key. But I cannot stress the over communication enough. And I think having an agenda is really important. I mean, you can go in and communicate all you want, but if you're all over the place, nobody's going to be able to focus. No one's going to know what's going on. So being able to keep a very strictly loose. Is that a term? An agenda that you can follow, but have some room to wiggle a little bit. I think that's really key. And just making sure that people know that they're being heard. I don't think there's anything worse than going into a meeting and voicing your opinion about a concern and nothing being done about it. So that's where that follow up really is key when it comes to our coordination meetings.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I just love the advice and the execution of that as well, Sarah. So great. Especially all of that, and then to add to that, helping make sure that others feel heard, which is so important. Appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
Given your involvement in technology testing, how do you see emerging technologies such as AI and machine learning impacting the future of BIM and VDC?
I think if anything, it's going to make things better. I know a lot of people are kind of hesitant with AI, and I get it. It's kind of scary. It can be misused, but I really do think it's going to make a huge difference in the way that we do our work, whether that means expediting it or making smarter decisions. It's so amazing what all it can do. And it's just going to be endless amounts of information at our fingertips. So I really hope that everyone is able to lean into it and embrace it, because I don't see it going anywhere.
Yeah, thanks so much. And I'd like to point to the webinar that I recently hosted with Applied Software, Gray Tech, just a couple months ago, on how AI is going to impact BIM and VDC. I was pretty excited about the interaction and activity and the Q&A that came out of that. Definitely encouraged the leaning in. So I'm glad that you appreciate that as well, and the massive change that you see. Are there specific technologies that you find particularly promising or transformative?
I think AI, I mean, honestly, it's just exploded. I think AR is still really powerful as well. VR gets talked about the most, I think. But AR, I think, is not going anywhere either. It's going to be around for a while. It's going to continue to make very successful projects even more successful, just because so many people are not as visual as those that are building it. So I'm excited to see what happens.
Yeah, I was actually just thinking about this, actually, the AI, AR, and VR, where AI, AR, and VR, augmented reality and virtual reality, both have a hardware component to the system, whereas
Right.
AI can be hardware, yes, but it also can be entirely software based.
Right.
And so I've been intrigued in seeing the proliferation of AI move so much faster than AR or VR, other hardware based technologies. And has been, in my thought process of that, I was really, I came to the conclusion of, the software can just move faster, right? It can just spread faster. It can get around faster than the physical equipment that hardware requires. And yet you look at, what's coming out, like the Rabbit V1, for example, which is a combination of hardware and software, a combination of holding a device while talking to it and using it through AI, LLMs and LAMs. So pretty neat stuff coming out, and how quickly it's proliferating is amazing.
Yeah, and I think something else that we'll probably start to see more of are the smart lenses, like the visors on your hard hat or the HoloLens goggles. It's always been around. It hasn't been super prominent, but with the way that the hardware-less software is evolving, Ray-Bans putting AI, or not AI, AR into glasses now. And so I just think we're going to continue to see more of that evolution, the software being put into everyday things that we're already using. So that's going to be really cool.
And Sarah, having completed over $1.5 billion in design construction projects, you've likely overcome your fair share of challenges. I know we've talked some about those challenges that you've encountered. And what challenges do you foresee for the future of BIM VDC coordination? And how do you think professionals in the field can proactively address and overcome these challenges?
I think it goes back to the fact that change is hard. People get comfortable using what they know and what they like. And so when a new technology comes around, 6 months after you've learned the first one, that's kind of deflating. I mean, it's really frustrating to have to learn what you think is something brand new all over again. But I really do think that the way that things are evolving, I mean, 4-year-olds can use iPhones. So it's just more and more intuitive every day. I think that it's only going to continue to improve as far as a user experience. And that's why I think it's so important in a role as a BIM VDC coordinator to understand that you're not just there to do the dog and pony show. So much of what I do is teaching people and having that empathy to sit beside them and walk them through step by step and make them understand it's okay if you don't understand this right now or if you don't know how to use this right now, but this is what it's going to do for you long term. And I found that by doing that, I'm much better received by those that I'm working with, and they're more apt to use it and apply it in their day-to-day job.
Yeah, and in the execution of the BIM process and the technologies that create the BIM process are so, so fundamental, so important to our industry. And what I've really enjoyed about speaking with you about is all of the soft skills that you bring to it. For example, the empathy, the meeting excellence, really understanding the importance of everything around the process. So that's been really enjoyable in learning that from you today, Sarah.
Thank you.
And as a final question of the show and a tradition of Future Construct, if you could project yourself out 25 years and wanted to have any device, technology that would benefit you personally, what would it be and what would it do?
Oh gosh, I would love to have some sort of button like on my car keys or on my phone, probably an app that would teleport me. I feel like I spend so much time getting back and forth between places. It would just be so convenient to be able to whip out my phone, open an app, and be on vacation or be back, with some family members somewhere. That would be my ultimate goal.
Very cool. Yeah, some type of teleportation device that saves you from so much time spent traveling,
Yes.
especially getting through TSA and the airport and all that fun stuff.
Waiting in line at Chick-fil-A at the drive-through. I mean, there's a lot of options. It would be very useful.
For sure. Okay, very cool. Well, I hope you see that very soon, Sarah. And I really appreciate your time today, and thank you for our audience at Future Construct. Appreciate everybody so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely.